What's going on, guys? Zerse here. And a subscriber of mine asked me to make a video on my thoughts on the educational system in America, or more specifically my personal experience in the educational system in America, which I won't say I think is a peculiar topic. It's different. But yeah, so let's talk about this. So let me think for a second. How many schools have I gone to in the course of my lifetime? Okay, well, maybe at first I should start with my opinion of the educational system. So I'm only one person, and of course this is my opinion, and I'm going to say the educational system in America is fucking garbage. It sucks. It's terrible. So I'm only going to talk about public school education because I've never gone to a private school. However, I do know some people who have gone to private schools, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Come a little compare and contrast there. Okay, so let me think for a second. So, how many schools have I gone through in the course of my lifetime? Well, I went to 2 elementary schools: San Jose Elementary School, Ortega Bluff Elementary School. I went to 2 middle schools. I went to Kirby Smith, went to Jeff Stewart, and I went to Robert E. Lee for high school. Okay, and I think there's really important things for you to talk about when it comes to the educational system. I think because I'm going to talk about the educational system and thus what I learned and the atmosphere, because I really think that it's important to chat about the atmosphere of public schools too from a social standpoint. So in terms of the education I received in the educational system, I guess as a child, as a kid, I don't know. I learned basic arithmetic, math. I learned science, scientific method. I learned how to read, how to write, how to make essays. I learned that 5-paragraph essay thing, which I use to this day. 5-paragraph essay format. That's like the bread and butter of essays, and I always get good grades when I do it. So like I said, I learned basic mathematics in elementary school. I learned how to spell. Unfortunately, since I had to stop taking spelling tests, I have to sound out words now. I know it's gigantic regression. My spelling is fucking horrible now because I rely too much on technology. Oh well. But what else? What else I learned? That's pretty much it. A lot of basic stuff. Did a lot of different reading. A lot of great books I read. When I remember specifically in the 4th grade, I remember reading The Last Dog on Earth. Was a great book. I remember reading Hoot. Was it Hoot or was it Owl? Hoot. It was Hoot. I read lots of books. I read a lot of books. I read Aragon when I was in the 5th grade. Aragon was one of my favorite books of all goddamn time. Really influenced me to write the couple of books I have now. Well, it's one of the influences I had. So I guess, personally, elementary school, I learned basic shit. There's nothing really to speak on. It's really basic stuff, I guess, there's nothing there. Middle school. I went to a magnet school, and it was called Kirby Smith. And the educational program there was great. I will say that they had a lot of different opportunities. Like, I remember a couple classes I took, because I had to take, there were the core classes like history, English. What else? I think we had science, biology. I remember I dissected a frog there. What else? I learned about video game programming. I can't do shit with it, but I understand the process a little bit. Studied a little bit of robotics there. I know there's a little bit of news journalism. I think it was a really diverse program there at Kirby Smith, because Kirby Smith was a school of mathematics, engineering, and science and all of that. So it was really focused on engineering skills. Like I said, I took a robotics class, and the educational system there was pretty good. I will say that about Kirby Smith. The educational system was good there. Jeb Stewart. I'm not going to say it's garbage. I learned a lot. In Jeb Stewart. But the interesting thing about Jeb Stewart is I really learned more about how to deal with people, and we're gonna get on that in just a second. But in terms of the educational system, I will say that it was lacking in comparison to the magnet school Kirby I went through. There wasn't the course load definitely, it was not as difficult as Kirby Smith was. It was pretty easy, and even then, some people still didn't do fucking well. Now, again, I guess I was a pretty smart kid back in the day, but it was kind of easy. I think the only class I had a problem with when I was at Jeb Stewart was algebra, and even then, like I got B's. I got a B in algebra. You know, I was really close to making straight A's. I just got like a B in algebra, like I just said. But again, it was really easy stuff. I did enjoy my time there, to be honest. And again, we're gonna jump back and talk about that. Robert E. Lee, fucking terrible. Just fucking terrible. Like a lot of the kids there, I'm just gonna be honest, not the sharpest tools in the shed. And I think a huge portion of that, I mean, I don't know. Now, see, I'm a special case when it comes to high school because I was in this program called early college. So I took college courses while I was in high school to earn enough credits to get an AA degree, right? So what I learned in early college was a lot of really advanced shit, which was pretty challenging. It was really good stuff there. But all the other students I know who weren't in that program, who like weren't in the mathematics program, I think there's like liberal arts or some shit. There are different programs in the school, Robert E. Lee, but I don't really know because I didn't give a fuck. What I do know is that a lot of the people there, again, they weren't the sharpest tools in the shed. Interestingly enough, I met lots of smart people there, but in terms of like preparation for education, there are definitely schools like in my area, like Stanton and there's other fucking schools, different schools that definitely had a harder course load. I think Robert E. Lee was very lacking in challenging material for a lot of people there. Not saying that everyone there was stupid. No, it's not true. It's just that in comparison to other schools, I know for a fucking fact that our school was lacking. Not only like technology, but also lacking. I mean, there are a lot of different people who were fighting there. A lot of people smoking weed, doing drugs in the bathroom, and it just wasn't really a good place to be. And like I said, I spent the last 2 years of high school at FSCJ anyway, so I only really spent 2 years in high school. So I think one thing I guess to really say about the educational system is, again, I've always been a pretty smart guy, so I was really more above average in all honesty. You know, even like throughout elementary school, throughout middle school, I was really above average. I wasn't really sharpest tool in the fucking shed. Even now, I mean, I'm a smart guy and I think a lot, but I mean, there's lots of people who know more shit than I do. So the system, again, the educational system was pretty good for the most part. Again, I can only speak from there. But I think one of the most important things that I think you really get from a public school education is how to deal with people. And let's talk about that. So I think the most important thing I got out of public school education was definitely how to deal with people. You know, because in all honesty, you know, people suck. You know, a lot of people, and you know, Jeb Stewart, Robert E. Lee, and Kirby were fucking terrible human beings. Let's be honest. So, I mean, if we start back at Kirby Smith, I actually left his school in the 6th grade because I just could not stand the people there. Which I guess is a double-edged sword of some of these. I mean, there are a lot of people really snooty, really arrogant, and there was an air about that school. You know, the atmosphere there was really hyper-competitive to a disgusting degree. You know, like at Kirby, it was like everyone was always trying to constantly prove themselves, and a lot of people made fun of me, and I fucking hated those people with every fiber of my being. So, it's really in Jeb Stewart that I really get into a much more friendly atmosphere. And I actually met one of my best friends. I still talk to the guy to this day. You know, and Jeb Stewart was much more laid back. So even though I can say, you know, the educational system was lacking in comparison, I definitely learned that a lot more relaxed people, a lot nicer people. Of course, there's still assholes that I had to deal with back in middle school, and you know, but in comparison, you know, I think one thing that the public schools do offer is diversity of people, and it does offer an opportunity to learn a lot about different people. You know, I don't think I could be a racist person because I've met so many different nice people from different races, you know, even from different parts of the world. So, I mean, I think that's the strongest part about public schools is that you are forced to cooperate with a lot of different people who come from different areas, you know, just the city. And that's I think a fantastic element to it all, and which isn't necessarily a part of, you know, like learning in the curriculum, but it is a very important part of being a human being. And I think that's an important thing that the school system does let you teach, or this public area does, you know, teach you, or it's something that you're forced to learn as you grow up, you know, because, you know, you do have the group projects. And one interesting thing about group projects, you know, I learned is that, you know, in life you pretty much, you know, what's that movie called? The fucking Hangover pretty much has, you know, that meme that says, you got the guy who does 99%, some guy who says he does something and doesn't. You know the fuck I'm talking about. You basically have this guy, and I like to call him Atlas. And basically, Atlas is the guy who fucking carries the team, and that's what I mean when I say some people suck. And I think the educational system does a lot more than just teaches you, like arithmetic. It also does teach you, how to deal with people, which is a skill that is really going to help you out later in life. And I think that's one of the most important parts about it. Again, like I said, there are a lot of schools I did go to were lacking, and what I mean by that, because I know it's a funny thing I say that the educational system in America sucks, but for me it wasn't terrible, and it wasn't terrible for me because my teachers gave a fuck about me. Like, my teachers definitely wanted to see me succeed, and they definitely pushed me to be better. But there are lots of teachers, who really just don't give a fuck, and I think a huge portion of that kind of has to do when they have to deal with students who are gigantic fucking assholes. Because again, back at my high school, a lot of I had a couple of teachers literally flip out, just get super angry because there are people just being douchebags. Like, these kids were being douchebags to them, and I understand that, So a lot of the teachers really don't give a fuck, and the kids don't give a fuck either, So, and then there's also the political side about the educational system, that there are lots of budget cuts that happen to the schools, and schools will lose a lot of their funding, so they can't get the books, or they can't, pay the teachers. They have to cut down on a lot of stuff, and it's ridiculously fucking stupid. I remember my little sister, was going to, I think Darnell Cookman is the school is called, and they cut the bus funding to the school, so the school didn't have the buses that went out to our neighborhood. Now, the thing about a magnet school is that its entire fucking purpose is to provide transportation for students who live on the outskirts of the school zone. That's the entire fucking point of a goddamn magnet school program. It's to get kids who are really smart, who are living out, across town, and bring them to the school so they can learn. So if you cut the funding you defeated the fucking literal purpose of the goddamn school. So that was stupid, but I think a huge portion that really has the educational system that suffers is the fact that that does happen a lot. And I've seen budget cuts happen to school while I was in school, like in the news and whatnot, and I think it's terrible. And a lot of the kids suffer, again, you have the kids who don't fucking care, you have professors and teachers who don't care, and a lot of people who really don't, care and really aren't investing in themselves as human beings. I guess that's really a self-esteem thing that is a whole nother topic unto itself, but it kind of bleeds into the educational system. And so again, I think the thing with public and private schools that I will briefly talk about is I've noticed there's, again, like I said, one of the biggest, the strongest thing about the public school education system is that you are introduced to a lot of people, and sometimes you can meet a lot of jackasses, but other times you'll meet lots of nice people too. And again, it forces you to grow and, deal with other people who think differently from you. If you're in the private school area though, a lot of people kind of have, their fucking heads up their own asses. They're really arrogant people, and you just surround yourself with other arrogant people who think the same way and who, wear the same uniform. You kind of get stuck in a narrow box with a bunch of people who think the same way you think. And then I know a lot of bullying happens in different Catholic schools and private schools and shit like that if you're an outcast, and that's because it perpetuates this dumbass notion that this stupid idea of, I don't want to say group thing. There's a word I'm looking for, but I can't remember it right now. But the point is, I think that's a gigantic weakness, because in the private schools you do have more education, or better equipment, better education, more teachers who invest in students sometimes, but you lose the social aspect that is needed for human beings to really grow and develop. So again, I mean, it's a mixed bag. But again, like I said, I know it might be a little confusing. I can say the educational system sucks, and then yet, I mean, I learned a lot. And again, in terms of basic stuff, I mean, I got it. But then again, you could learn that shit online. The most important thing I think the educational system in America, or public schools offer in America, is the social learning environment where you can learn and grow and really understand different people. Because I think that's the best thing I got out of it. I will say the best thing I got out of public schools is learning how to interact with people and having a group of diverse people and friends to hang out with and hang around with. I think that's the most important thing, and I don't think that's not really something that a professor or a teacher can teach you. That is something you're going to have to experience, as a child, and really learn and develop those skills. Because again, mathematics, reading, writing, learning, that's all shit your parents can teach you. That's all stuff you can really learn on your own. That you can really go out and you can really learn that by yourself. But in terms of social engineering and like understanding even hierarchies, and of course, if you wanted to beat these different gender roles or hierarchies and all that bullshit, you are going to have to understand your adversary. Otherwise, you have no business trying to fight against them, which is one gigantic weakness of feminism, which I'll talk about in the future. But again, number one thing public systems offer is a social environment where you meet diverse people. Of course, you can meet jackasses too, and that again devolves into a whole nother category of stuff to be talked about. So I guess my opinion on the public, I guess in conclusion, I can say, again, the greatest strength the public school system has is the social atmosphere, but it's also simultaneously its biggest weakness when it comes to bullying and dealing with people. But that offers up an opportunity to learn and develop. So, life is all about struggling, and I think the system certainly does force you to struggle. Well, with that being said, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment below, and as always, have a great day. I will see you cool cats soon.